Well, welcome everybody. We're working through page 72 of our regional study guide, unit 7. As we look through the Benjamin map, that's number 7 in the top left corner of your map. Number 7, the Benjamin map. As we look through these things today, so great to see everybody. Glad that we're here. We're almost there, so we're just excited about getting ready to leave. So let's open with a word of prayer. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for today. Thanks for being with us. They're guiding us on this journey so far, and Lord, now the exciting adventure is set to begin. And so we just give thanks for this last time that we meet together to go through maps before we leave. So just be with us, bless us, guide us. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, so we're going to be talking about the central arena. So this is the tightest map that we have. As we look at the maps that are here, if you look down at the box, the little box on the bottom right-hand corner, you'll see the little black rectangle of how zoomed in we are in Israel's in the land of Israel here. You see the mileage scale on the bottom. We're looking at about from left edge to left edge. We're looking to about 30 or 40 miles total. So very, very compact, but a lot of things took place here. You can see the edge of the Rift Valley. You see the Jordan River on the far right-hand side. On the far left-hand side of this map, you can see where the Shvela, where it's the darker hills, where now it's to the rolling hills, to even the coastal plain. Here on the left-hand side, but we don't even see as far as the Mediterranean Sea. We're that far zoomed in here. There's a lot of things that happened. The Medeba Plateau is on the other side. We can't even see that where Moses led his people, but where Joshua came in here and they camped and attacked Jericho and then brought up into the central highlands. It's there. The Philistine forces tried to jump into the central Benjamin Plateau. David's interaction with the Philistines here, the Elah Valley, we talked about that last week. It's the very bottom of the map down here. That's where David and Goliath fought. It's the very bottom of the map on the left-hand side. So just a lot of those things that are in this map. And so let's go begin with event 20. As Israel's entrance, go up to the Abiram range to Mount Nebo in Moab, across from Jericho and view Canaan. Right. This is what the command was to Moses, where he told that where God showed him the land from Mount Nebo, and we get to be on Mount Nebo, and when we're in Jordan, so that'll be something that we get to do and stand on Mount Nebo and look into Israel. God must have given him either it was a super clear day, but I think God gave him some supernatural sight too. To be able to see, because you can't see the whole land from there. You can see a lot of the land, but you can't see up to Galilee or anything like that. And so most likely when we talk about that, God gave him supernatural sight and visions of that land that's there. So we've looked through the chronologies. We're not going to do that today of the different things in the Regions on the Run book. We're not going to dive into that nearly as much. But on the top of page 73 is what we're going to look at. For centuries, Israel lived in the land of Goshen, the best of the land. If you remember, we talked about that in that first map way down in Egypt. And then they moved out of the land in there. Thutmose campaigned in Canaan. So the pharaohs controlled Canaan before Israel came. While Israel was in Egypt, the pharaohs controlled this area. They controlled the trade routes, and people gave them tribute, and they kept the local peoples in line and from fighting each other. But when Egypt's dominance waned, when they had internal struggles, that's around the time when Israel was coming into the land here, around Joshua and Judges and Kings, and allowed Israel to compete against the other nation states or the city states here for dominance in the land. And we've talked about that several times. We're going to skip through 73 to move to 74 at this point. This is all stuff we've talked about and just kind of review for us as we've gone through how that the flow, if the empire's controlled or pushing, whether from Egypt or Assyria or from Babylon, it meant struggles for Israel and Judah in the land between. Okay, so So let's go and talk through. So the 40 years came to an end. The bottom of 73, 40 years came to an end. They controlled the region of Gaza. The 40 years is the children of Egypt, of Israel, and the wilderness. And we find Moses and the children of Israel making their way to the south, the direction of Elath on the Red Sea, then heading north along the desert highway, Transjordan, to avoid the regions of Edom and Moab on the LB map, which we've talked about before, and finally making preparations to enter the Medeba Plateau, backdoor the land in between. Actually, so we need to do a little marking on the LB map first. So leave your Benjamin map out, but we do need to get the LB map back out. I missed that one as we were thinking about that. Sorry about that. LB map is number 2. I am not sure where my LB map is. Judah. I have misplaced my LB map, so we'll just go through it and we'll be all right. You're going to highlight the regional names of Moab and Ammon. That's going to be on the right-hand side. Moab and Edom at the bottom should already be highlighted. But if you go farther north, this is to the right of the Dead Sea, is Moab. And then you go north and right of the Dead Sea, you'll find Ammon. So biblically, if you remember, the Edomites, the Moabites, and the Ammonites claimed a distant relationship with Israel through Abraham. If you remember that Moab and Edom is the descendant of Esau, right? Esau and Jacob, Isaac's 2 sons. Edom is the descendant of Esau. And then Moab and Ammon, they're descendants of Lot, Abraham's nephew. So they have relatives that way. So when Israel came through the desert highway, they circumvented Edom and Moabites, not confronting them or claiming their land. In the same way, Israel avoided the Ammonites, whose territory surrounded the Ammonite center of Rabbah. And so, right in small black caps, find Zoar just south of the Dead Sea at the mouth of the Zered Canyon. So right at the bottom of the Dead Sea, you'll find Zoar. So follow the deep Zered Canyon throughout the desert highway. Right, Zered Camp at the east end of the Zered Canyon near the desert highway. So you're going to go to the right of the Dead Sea, and where that intersects with that road that we've highlighted that followed the Zered Canyon, you're going to write in caps there, and we're going to do in black caps. You're going to write Zered Camp. So we're going to go. So you're going to go all the way out to the highway there. So just in caps.
Like
Yeah. So there can. So there can. And let me just double check that for you guys. So this is the far. So you have the 2 yellow ones. This is going to be the far yellow one. Sorry, you got to go to the far yellow one.
Oh, I didn't go far enough.
Way over to the edge.
Oh.
Sorry about that.
What?
So you have the two desert highways, and if you remember this, they couldn't go through. Moab says you can't come through our land. So and Edom said they couldn't come through our land, so they had to take the desert highway instead of the little easier one that was closer.
Right where it says Rujim El Aviad?
I can't. Well, I don't have my map up, so yeah.
Well, because the road doesn't go to there.
The canyon doesn't go all the way out that way. Yeah,
No.
but near that end of the canyon. Okay. The right part there.
It runs into that.
And we're writing
The
zero.
first road or the
Second road.
So it's all the way over to the edge of the soil.
This road.
Oh,
this-
so it's
yeah.
right here.
Yeah, so Zered Canyon. So right about here.
Oh,
So yeah, right near Rum El Bayat. Oh, okay. So near that.
And there's no road, so we just make a road, right?
Just
No, there's
It is on the road.
there.
you just write it in. You don't need to highlight. Just don't need to highlight. You just write in. Write in. The camp. So right about here. You know, right near that road. So right in that camp. All right. So that was the Zered camp. So when they camped with Moses as they're coming in, they camped there. And then find Aror and Dibon on the northern side of the Arnon Canyon. Follow the Arnon Canyon east, not the southeast branch, the second highlighted route, the desert highway, and right Arnon camp. So you're following that road north, and it's going to intersect another canyon there. So the Arnon, there's the Arnon, that's perfect. Yep. So there's the Arnon Canyon, and there's the road, so right in that area. There's the Arnon Canyon. and there's the road.
Got it. Thank you.
A little farther
So
north.
that road is supposed to be highlighted?
Right
That
on.
road is? I don't know, it said in the second highlighted road, it's not highlighted. This should be
Talking about
highlighted.
going over to this
So you're not highlighting right
Okay.
now. You're just writing it. So there's the Arnon Canyon.
Mhm.
There's the canyon. So you're writing the what's it say there? You're writing Arnon Camp.
Got it. Right down here?
Yeah.
Right here, Arnon Camp.
Yeah, Arnon Camp. Yeah. Right. All right, good. In Numbers, it talks about how they camped in these places, and in the language of Numbers and Deuteronomy suggests that Israel had not yet crossed the Arnon when Moses asked the Amorite king Sihon at Heshbon for a peaceful passage. So Heshbon was the guy that they were getting ready to enter his land when they crossed the Arnon Canyon. And he's like, no way. And he actually got people together to attack him. And if you remember, Moses, they attacked them, they took their land, and that's where the Reuben, Gad, and the half tribe of Manasseh then settled in that land. But they didn't take the Ammonite land, they took the Amorite land. I know it's confusing. Ammonites, Moabites, and Edomites, they didn't take that land because they were distant relatives. Okay. Put a red dot on Jahaz, north of Aror. This is where Israel's confrontation with Sihon took place. And put a blue dot of blue box around the dot of Heshbon, Sihon's capital.
Is this number B?
That is number 4.
Okay,
Blue box.
Red dot is number 3, blue box is number 4.
I mean, I don't know, but just, okay.
Heshbon. Here it is, right here.
Okay.
Right above the one, right above.
Here we go. And a blue box.
Blue box around the dot of Heshbon. That's Sihon's capital. This is the guy that they're trying to go through his land to get to Israel, to get to basically Jericho. And he's like, no way, not going to happen. So 4 sweeping green arrows from near the bottom of the map northward along the desert highway to the Zered camp. And so I know some of you guys had your highlighted road going to the right, off the right side of the map. That was part of the highway, but add another, if you have that going that way, add another highlighted road
So
from here. Add this as a highlighted road too. It parallels the
all the
south.
way to the Arnon camp?
So you're doing a green arrow to the Zered camp,
And to the Arnon camp.
and then to the Arnon camp.
So from the bottom of the,
And then from the
Yeah.
Arnon camp to the.
Bottom of the map to the Zered camp, and then up to the Arnon camp. That's the second one is to the Arnon camp,
Oh,
and then from the Arnon camp to Jahaz, and then from Jahaz to Heshbon. So those places that we just highlighted or put dots or wrote in or dots or boxes, you're drawing green arrows. This is the movement of the people of Israel. East of arrow A above, so from the desert, so from the first green arrow from the bottom of the map to Zered camp, right in small black caps, Moses moves around Edom and Moab. So they said, hey, Moses asked them, hey, can we go through your land? And they said, no way. And so Moses moved the people of Israel, this massive group of people, anywhere from 500,000 to 2 million people, around instead of going through. And you can imagine why they didn't want this group of people going through, right? It's kind of maybe got parallels today. We don't want these refugees coming through our land. What are they going to do? Right? And so they say, go around. All right? And then underline Heshbon in red. That's the last place we went to. So we already have a blue box around that dot. Underline Heshbon in red. That equals Israel's victory over Sihon and the Amorites. And put a red on the city dots near Jazer or Jazer, north of Heshbon, and Edrei in Bashan. Other victories over the Ammonites. So those are farther north and up on the map.
Jazer and which one else, Pastor?
Red city dot on Jazer and Edrei. Jahaz was the other one. But so Jahaz we already did, but now we're doing Jazer and Edrei or Edrei.
And that's further north? What number are we on, please?
Number 8.
Okay,
Where is Jazer?
okay. Joey, you should have done. Oh, we already have a red dot on Ednor from a previous one.
Okay.
All right.
All right. So
Jazer and what else?
Jazer and Edrei or Edrei.
You should have a red
Edrei.
dot on
Well, I didn't do all my lessons.
it. Oh, that's true.
Right.
It's way up here.
I do have it.
All right. So this is where they're moving through this land. They're going to enter it in. And that's what's recounted in Numbers and Deuteronomy. So Israel's planned to move northwest from the Arnon Canyon across the network of routes on the Medeba Plateau, an area controlled by Sihon, the Amorite king at Heshbon. Moses sought safe passage, but the Amorite king sent troops to stop Israel. The Amorites were defeated, and Israel took possession of Sihon's land from the Arnon to Gilead, but did not approach the land of the Ammonites. So really the land of the Ammonites is really just right around their capital of Ammon or Rabbah at that point. It was in this context that the Amorite site of Jazer on the road between Heshbon and Jogbehah was taken in Numbers 21. The poem in Numbers 21 is interesting on 2 levels. First, it appears to be an Amorite victory song from an earlier era when the Amorites took the Medeba Plateau and mercifully pursued Moab. Israel turned this Amorite song into a taunt from the opening mocking challenge, just try rebuilding Sihon city, to judgment on Sihon at the end as we totally destroyed. More important for our studies, the fact that this song tells us how 3 entities, each in their own time, controlled the strategic Medeba Plateau: the Moabites, Sihon the Amorite, and now the Israelites. So this, again, the importance, the strategic of these different pieces of land, and the Medeba Plateau will actually be able to go there and see this. The Bible records that the Israelites carefully respected regional claims of the Edomites, Moabites, and Ammonites. We talked about that already. In later history, we see that these east-west trade routes developed. These same peoples bitterly fought for control of those trade routes, including those through the Medeba Plateau. Ammonites made exaggerated claims that their land had originally extended from the Arnon Canyon to the south, to Jabbok Canyon in the north, and westward to the Jordan. That's not where their land originally was. They wanted it, but the Amorites were there, and it wasn't until the Israelites kicked them out that the Ammonites tried to push the Israelites then out. Jephthah countered this claim by recalling events discussed above. Eglon of Moab asserted Moabite control of the Medebite Plateau, pushing west of Jordan to the sea. Jericho, the city of the palms, Mesha of Moab, carried out merciless campaigns against the Israelites on the Medeba Plateau. Farther south, Judah challenged the Israelites. So there's all this conflict that is there. So as we look at this, the record of Israel's, the last sentence, the record of Israel's, or second last sentence, there on 75, of Israel's respect for Edomites, Moabites, and Ammonites in the days of Moab stands in stark contrast to later violent relations and presents difficulty for those who claim that the story of Israel's arrival was contrived centuries later to establish Israelite claims. The burden of proof is not on the biblical text, right? It's, if you're going to make a counterclaim, the burden of proof is on you to disprove this, not for us to prove what the Bible says. So we're switching now to the NCA map.
Oh, my goodness.
We're moving all over the place today. NCA map, and I have that one. So NCA map. I'll have to find my LV map. I'm not sure I put that one. The NCA map, that is number 3, as we're looking at number 3. the NCA map. We've got a lot of markings on here already. And so we're going to highlight a couple of the things we just highlighted on the other map, but just to make sure we have it on this map too. So we're going to highlight Heshbon. We just highlighted that. That was Sihon's capital. So Heshbon is near in the bottom right quadrant. Near the bottom of that, we should have a Heshbon is kind of near the middle of that right quadrant, near the bottom.
Is Asbos another name for it?
So yep, so Espos is below, but just highlight Heshbon. Then you're going to go north a couple inches, and you're going to see Jezer or Jezer. That we highlight that one too.
Is that J-A-Z-E-R?
Jazer. Yep. And then we're also going to highlight Edrei or Edrei, right? And that one is, I just lost it. Where did that one go? Where did you go? Oh, so north of the fold, about 2 inches, but near the right-hand side, it's Edrei, and it has like Edrane or something underneath it. So highlight those three. And then you're going to do 3 sweeping green arrows from down here at Heshbon again, just a short one up to Jezer, or Jazer. And then from Jazer directly north to Gerasa via Jogba to join the route north by the name Abernusser. So we're going to Gerasa. We didn't highlight Gerasa. You guys see where Gerasa is?
It's at the fork.
At the fork, yeah. So you're going to do a sweeping arrow from Jazer through Jogba. All right. And then from Gerasa, you're going to do a sweeping arrow up to Edrei or Edrei. And next to that last arrow that you just drew, right in black caps, Israel against Og. What a great name for a king. Og. And if I remember right, I think this guy had 6 fingers on each hand and 6 toes, and was like, his bed was huge, is what one of the details the Bible describes about this guy. So, yeah, so if I got my guy right, I think this is who we're talking about. He's just a hulk of a man and had 6 fingers on each hand and 6 toes on each foot. So, all right. And then underlined Jazer and Edrei in red, because that's where the battle against Og of Bashan took place. And these are folks that came against them, against Moses, and they defeated them as well. And so this is where you get the eastern tribes of Reuben, Gad, and the half-tribe of Manasseh said, hey, we have this land. It's a good land. We've destroyed the people that live there. We want to live here. And Moses is like, you're just trying to get out of battle and over in Israel. And they're like, no, we'll go first in the fight against to help everybody else get their land. But let our herds and our flocks and our families stay here. And that's the arrangement that was made. And so that's what happened. And we don't know if some of the men stayed behind to protect their families and they took it in shifts, or how all of that worked. We're not 100% sure, because some of that would have had to have been done to make sure that the people they left behind were cared for too.
Is this Moses? 'Cause
This is Moses.
Okay.
This is Moses. This is
I
Moses.
was like, am I in I remember this story.
Mhm.
I know it was Moses, but was this the same story or another?
This is Moses. This is because it's similar how some of the same battles, or how battles take place in the same places, and they follow the same routes. And that's kind of the idea, is they're not doing new. These are the battlegrounds, and these are the key principal strategic places. Okay. The necessity of passing through the Medeba Plateau. This is the discussion on this map. On the way to Canaan explains Israel's confrontation with King Heshbon. Southern Bashan, however, this is where we're talking about up here. Southern Bashan, however, was not on the intended route. They weren't going to go north, and no reason is given for Israel's battle with the Amorites in the region of Edrei. In addition, Bashan is an area of Egyptian influence. The NCA map shows that Edrei was located on an important crossroads south of Ashtaroth, the main Egyptian center in the region of Bashan. Edrei was also included in the list of cities conquered by Thutmose III, and an area was known by Egyptian scribes in the times of Ramses II. A map, shows more of that. The Bible, however, consistently associates early Israelite settlement with the regions of Gilead and southern Bashan. Numbers 32 seems to reflect a threefold process of Israelite settlement beginning in Gilead, expanding to villages called Havoth, and finally reaching Kenneth on Jebel, Mount Druze, both east off the NCA map. This process may have been begun in the reign of Pharaoh Thutmose IV and continued during the reign of Pharaoh Amenhotep III. Unlike their forefather, Thutmose III, they were busy elsewhere. A letter of complaint, these are the Amarna letters, this is where they were found, sent to the next Pharaoh, Amenhotep IV, called Akhenaten, maybe you've heard of him, in his Egyptian capital at El Armana, notes problems in the region of Bashan, including chariots given to alien renegades, a term which could well apply to the Israelites. So they're not mentioned by like the Hapiru or something like that that says this is definitely the Israelites, but renegades would fit, this group of people coming in from the south, coming through the land, taking over the land of other people. That could fit the Israelites, as we see from Numbers and Deuteronomy, and then even into Joshua. Numerous verses associate the site of Ramoth Gilead with the tribe of Gad, and by the period of the Judges, we hear of Jaar of Gilead in 30 cities called Havoth Jaar in the land of Gilead, and the Japheth of Gilead in the land of Tob. In later centuries, Solomon administered from Ramoth Gilead, and northern Israel's claim on this area emerges in descriptions of later battles in the region. Early phases of Israelite settlement in Gilead could have resulted in the confrontation with Edrei, the major Amorite settlement standing in the way of expanding Israelites. This could have occurred in the period between the arrival of the Israelites on the Medeba Plateau and their crossing of the Jordan in Joshua 1. The length of this period is not specified, and some time may have elapsed as reflected in the detailed accounts of the tribal settlement by Reuben and Gad and the intermingling of Israelites with local populations in Numbers 25. Finally, Israel formally prepared to enter Canaan. So we're marking on this NCA map, we're going to highlight the name Beth Jeshemoth, Abel Shittim, Jericho, the northern non-italicized name, Jordan River, Mount Nebo, and Pisgah. So Beth Jeshemosh, so this is down by the Dead Sea, so the very southern part of the map. So if you go north of the Dead Sea and just go to the right, you'll see Beth Jeshemosh. If you keep going in that same line to the north and west, or north and east, you'll see Abel Shittim. Yeah. North and east of Beth. So you're going that same kind of diagonal line north and east of the Dead Sea, north and to the right, and you'll see Abel Shittim. And then you're gonna go across the Jordan River the other way, and you're gonna see two Jerichos. You see the two Jerichos?
Yes.
Highlight the northern Jericho. They're only about a ½ inch apart. Highlight the northern Jericho. And then if you go back to the top of the Dead Sea, highlight the name Jordan River. And then if you go, you see where Heshbon is highlighted, where we highlighted Heshbon? If you go just about an inch to the south of that, you'll see Mount Nebo with an arrow pointing to where that mountain is. Highlight Mount Nebo. Below Heshbon. So Nebo, if you go to the south and to the east of Nebo, you'll see Mount Nebo. And that mountain is just south of there, between Medeba and Heshbon. And then Pisgah. I forget where Pisgah is.
Just to the left of Nebo.
Thank you. Yep. Just to the left of Nebo, just to the left of Mount Nebo.
We'll be on Mount Nebo?
Yep. So where you just highlighted, that's where that arrow's pointing, we'll be right there. That's in Jordan. That's in Jordan. Pisgah's just to the left of Mount Nebo.
To the left of Mount Nebo.
The Jordan River is the boundary for most. So the West Bank is the west bank of the Jordan River. It took me going there to figure it out too. I'm like, oh, this makes sense now. Yep. So. Yeah, and the West Bank is where the Palestinians are in Israel. It's this area. It's kind of this area. Yeah. All right.
West Bank, I always thought it was along the Mediterranean.
It's the West Bank of the Jordan River is where that's at. Yep. And it took me going there to kind of comprehend what was actually being talked about.
That's the border between.
Yeah. So write in small black caps in 2 lines, plains of Moab. And so write plains above this Levius, Julius, Beth, Ramoth, and then of Moab right below that line. So plains of Moab.
Well, there's a thing that says Plains of Moab right underneath it. No, it does. Why don't we just highlight it?
Yeah, you can highlight that.
I highlighted that.
Highlight that because maybe you might have a newer version of the map. I think you have a better map. I'm using my old map still from 2 years ago. So they have new. They put a couple more things on there. Yep, which is good. So just highlight Plains of Moab. You don't need to write it in. Do sweeping green arrows from Heshbon to the Plains of Moab. So we have a green arrow. So from Heshbon, so they did they went against Og, but they came back to Heshbon, and then they went to the Plains of Moab. So a green arrow from Moses led them to the Plains of Moab. And so in Numbers 22 and 27, Deuteronomy 34, we see all of these things where from the desert highway to the Plains of Moab, how they got there. And then the reciting the law of Moses' entry, Joshua chosen. And then Moses is at the top of Mount Pisgah or Mount Nebo, basically, when he dies and God buries him there. So Moses' words, this is on page 76, to the children of Israel before they crossed the Jordan and entered Canaan, lie at the core of the biblical message. They are fundamental building stones of biblical faith and lean heavily upon the geographical and political context, the land between, to demonstrate how this land would become a testing ground of faith for Israel. Through the millennia, these words have remained Israel's creed. And in the nearby wilderness, Jesus countered the tempter by quoting exclusively from the words of Moses. With this in mind, we join Israel, prepare to cross the Jordan and enter a good land, but a land in which you can quickly perish. From Deuteronomy 11. So now we need to go to the SCA map. SCA map, that's number 4. SCA map. That's number 4. Hey, I found my LB map.
Rolled up with the SCA.
It was all kind of tucked in there. All right. All right. It was just really tight there. On the, we're going to highlight some of these same names we just did, but on this map that's more tightly one. So we're kind of marking the same events as we're moving from Edom and Moab and Ammon now into this land between. So we're getting more and more tight as we go there. So highlight the names Abel Shittim, Beth Jemash, Pisgah, and Mount Nebo. We just highlighted those on the other map. So again, we're going north of so just north and to the east of the Dead Sea, you'll see Beth Shemesh, Jeshemoth, I should say. If you keep going that north and east, you'll see Abel Shittim. If you go south of Abel Shittim, you'll see Pisgah, just highlight there. To the right, you'll see Mount Nebo, highlight there. Are those a little easier to find?
Yeah.
No? Sorry.
Well, I found 2 of them real easy.
Yeah, let me make sure we're all there. Okay, just right, so Beth Shemesh, Abel Shittim. This one, Abel Shittim. Pisgah.
Yeah, I can't bring up.
Oh, there.
Found it, where is it?
Alright,
Got it. There.
just north of the Dead Sea, so, yeah, on the other map, it was way down on the bottom, but we reorientated there a little bit. So, yeah, so Beth Shemesh, Abel Shittim, Pisgah, Mount Nebo. Alright, in small black caps on the SCA map, do you guys have Plains of Moab on this one, or do you have to write it in? On this one, write it in. So you're going to go just below the Livius Julius Beth Ramatha, write it in small black cap, Plains of Nebo. Kind of just to the left of, just as you get into the,
Close to the Jordan.
yeah, you're in the Rift Valley at this point.
Close to the Plains of Moab.
Plains of Moab.
Yeah, but where above?
Above the Dead Sea. Yeah,
Okay.
but below Livius Julius Beth Ramatha. If you have that one listed there.
Oh, so it's more to the
Close to
right.
the river.
To the right. Yeah, close to the hills.
Got it.
Oh, I heard it close to the river.
That's okay. It's the same area. Yeah. Like Moses climbed from the plains of Moab to Mount Nebo on the SCA map in order to view the land of Canaan and the obstacles which lay before Israel, three great difficulties lie directly west of Medeba. One are steep slopes. You see the difference in elevation, right? Where you have the mountains and then kind of go straight down into the Rift Valley. You have the steep slopes there. Two, you have the pungent waters of the Dead Sea itself. Three, the sheer limestone cliffs west of the Dead Sea, which rise to the arid wilderness. These features are clearly seen on the SCA map. Right, you can see the mountains as they drop off and as they come back up on the other side of the Rift Valley. The obstacles noted above force traffic along the lower Jordan Valley, north of the Dead Sea. Routes from the Medeba Plateau to Jericho are attractive for various reasons. First of all, rides descending to the valley from the Medeba Plateau are easier to navigate. Right, we're going to do the easiest thing if we can. Secondly, travel across the valley is hindered only by the Jordan River, a sluggish, meandering stream today, but difficult to cross in antiquity during its spring flood stage. Thirdly, fertile farmland can be found on both sides of the Jordan. In the plains of Moab, where alluvial soil and small streams encourage settlement, in the region of Jericho, where springs create lush oases. A steep limestone scarp rises directly west of Jericho, but nearby slopes afford easier descents to ridges leading to the central hill country. Explore the approach to Jericho from the Medeba on this SCA map and note how Jericho is the natural backdoor to central Canaan. You see how that's, where people are going to go if they want to get up into this area, they're going to go through Jericho. Okay. Jericho's strategic position is underscored by routes linking it to the central hill country. Note them on the SCA map to Bethel, with the side route to Gibeon via Michmash and Ramah, to Jerusalem, and to Orpha. The Michmash area is particularly important since it was the first line of defense against invaders coming from Jericho and leads to Gibeon and routes descending to the front door of central Canaan, the Ion Valley with convenient links to the coastal highway. Run your finger across the SCA map from the Medeba Plateau through Jericho and Gibeon to the Ion Valley and the coastal highway. This is a way through the hills between imperial highways, the name of this chapter of the guide. The majority of events recorded in the Bible can be traced along these routes. Many others besides Moses and the Israelites have stood on the high scarp, the Medeba Plateau near Nebo and Pisgah, and looked west across the Rift Valley to Jericho and the hill country beyond. They included the Moabites, traders with their camel caravans, Arameans from Damascus, Nabateans from Arabia, Greek merchants, and even imperial armies from Assyria and from Rome. They sought either commercial gain or military conquest, but all understood that this back door of central Canaan offered direct access to regions and routes west of the Jordan. Moses contemplated this view and deeply desired to cross the Jordan River, but it was Joshua who led the people of the promised land. So as we're here over in looking across, kind of this route that they're talking about is over here is the Ion Valley. So it's kind of just straight across. As you go up, you see Michmash and this way and all the way down to get to the other side. You could go through this area. That's the area of Benjamin that is there. Okay. So we're if you want to highlight the Jordan River, you can do that, but you don't have to do that. Highlight on the names though: Jordan River, So we did on the other map.
Not here.
So highlight the yellow at Jordan River. So Jordan River is there. Highlight near the top of the map, you'll see Adam or Adam. Near the very top of the map, right on the Jordan River, or right next to it. Adam or Adam. Adam literally means earth,
Oh, yeah, I know.
right? So this is that name there, and then you're gonna highlight on the name Gilgal, which is so do you see the two Jerichos that are over here? Gilgal is right above the top Jericho. And for this purpose, we're talking about of the two Jerichos again. We're looking at the one that's to the north, the farther north one. Okay. All right, red circle around Jericho. The northern Jericho, put a red circle around, of the two Jerichos, are the one that's farther north or up. Put a red circle around that Jericho. And then do sweeping green arrows, either below or above the orange arrows already drawn on this map. So you see where the orange arrows are there already? Yeah. For most of us, you're going to do a green arrow from Mount Nebo to the plains of Moab. And then from the plains of Moab to Jericho's red circle. And above that first one, from Mount Nebo to the plains of Moab, write in small black caps Moses. And then at Nebo, they switched leadership roles. Moses died. He was 120. It was okay. God let him retire. Of course, he didn't start leading until he was 80.
Moses died at 120.
Yeah,
I thought it was older than that.
he started leading when he was 80. So, there's time. And then above the second green one, from Moab to Jericho, put Joshua. So the sequence of momentous events occurred as Israel entered Canaan. Joshua, the prominent tribe of Ephraim, took command. Israel crossed the Jordan in the spring when the river is normally running high. It doesn't do that today. It doesn't get outside of its banks today because they've dammed it at the Sea of Galilee. So it is a constant level pretty much today. All right. But it still can flood and things can still happen that way. So when the Israelites are crossing, it was the largest, the widest it would have been at that point, maybe even up to a half mile wide. So think like not quite the Mississippi River normally, but pretty close to that during flood stage. Normally, it's not any wider from like this room. When we see it, it's probably going to be like from here to the other side of the room is the width of it. So, but it could get big during flood stage. The feast of the Passover was celebrated. Manna ceased as Israel ate the produce of the land of Jericho was conquered. In this context, we are given geographical information about Jericho and the surrounding region seen on the Benjamin map, which we'll get to in a little bit. After conspiring with Rahab and Jericho, Joshua's spies hid a nearby limestone canyon or in the secluded hills of the chalky wilderness west of the city, where it says in Joshua 2 here, they left Jericho and headed for the hills west of the city and stayed there for 3 days until the pursuers gave up and returned to Jericho. Their pursuers searched every route but found nothing. The two men in hiding then turned back toward Jericho and descended from the hills, crossed over the Jordan, and came to Joshua, son of Nun. They told him all about what had happened. So Joshua's camp is over here in the plains of Moab. Right, we've got that on the map. The spies came to Jericho. They hid out. But when they were discovered, Rahab let them down through the window. Instead of going east back to their camp, they went up into the wilderness. You can see how immediately next to Jericho, the lands get higher in elevation, and they hid in the caves there. Much like David later hid in caves similar in the same region that Saul did. And they hid there for 3 days. And then they went back past Jericho to their camp on the other side of the Jordan, the plains of Moab. So they went the wrong way, and then they doubled back. Because intuitively, you're going to get to the safety of your camp as fast as you can, but they went the other way to throw them off the scent, off the trail. Yeah, and that was at Rahab's suggestion. Actually, she saved their lives doing that because it says they pursued every possible route. So they were, this whole Rift Valley, they were looking everywhere for them. But they didn't look to the west because that wasn't where they were going. So, yeah. The most remarkable feature of Jericho is the region's oasis. Springs emerge in several places, and one of the largest is at the base of ancient Jericho, in Arabic called Tel Es Sultan, the site circled in red on the SCA map. The combination of water emerging from underground springs fed from limestone hills farther west, soil depositing the plain from canyons in these same hills, and climate warm and sunny during most of the year makes Jericho renowned for a wide variety of agricultural products, especially dates and balsam used in ancient ointments. And that spring still is what feeds Jericho's water supply today. They've capped it because because water is a precious resource. So but you can see the pump house right at the water spring house right at the base of the tell of Jericho. See, that's where the spring is. So, and they're actually able to grow corn around Jericho because nowhere else in Israel can they grow corn. There's not enough water, but in Jericho they have enough water from the spring. I mean, yeah. All right, Jericho's fame began in the New Stone Age. Walls, a tower, and other finds at the site reveal a society organized into what could be called the world's first city. Its ruins were millennia old by the time Abraham and his nephew Lot arrived in the land, and other cities had arisen. After returning from the lush Nile Valley of Egypt, Abraham and Lot kept herds in the hill country northeast of Bethel, an area with stunning panoramic views of the Jordan Valley. Following a disagreement, we read that Lot looked out and saw all the broad plains of the Jordan, all under irrigation, like the garden of the Lord, like Egypt, and chose to move to these broad plains of the Jordan. Lot's departure from the harsh hills to the watered plains signaled his departure from Abraham's journey of faith. After the fall of Jericho, Joshua placed a curse on the city. The archaeological record confirms that the long tradition of building at the site halted sometime around 1400. That's debated whether it's 1400 or whether it's closer to 1200, depending on if you have an early or a later date of the conquest. And so there's a little bit of debate upon that, but there is still an abandonment of the site around this time. The king of Moab, coveted for a short period, controlled the city of palms and its resources in Judges chapter 3, but it was Ahab, king of Israel, who blatantly ignored Joshua's curse, rebuilt Jericho, and made it his oasis getaway to the Medeba Plateau, an area which attracted growing caravan commerce from Arabia. In later periods, the region of Jericho could not be ignored, and when Mark Antony of Rome wanted to impress Cleopatra of Egypt, he gifted the region's taxes to her. When King Herod finally gained control of the area, he used its natural resources to improve on what the Jewish Hasmoneans, the Maccabees, had already done by constructing a beautiful winter palace with supporting facilities at Jericho. Destroyed at King Herod's death, Jericho was rebuilt by his son Archelaus and remained a thriving center, rich in taxes, as we hear in the story of Zacchaeus, who exploited his position as tax collector in this coveted area. During this period, Jesus and his disciples often passed through this affluent and historic region. All of this points to Jericho's unique character and unusual natural setting. The account of Joshua's conquest contains two statements about Jericho which stand out against this background. The first occurred in the season of Passover when the products of the land were readily available here. And this is what's read from Joshua 5. The Israelites set up a camp at Gilgal. So eventually once the spies came back, they crossed the Jordan River, and they camped at Gilgal. You see that where it's just north of Jericho there? They camped at Gilgal and kept the Passover on the eve of the 14th day of the month, there on the plains of Jericho. Starting the day after the Passover, right on that day, they ate what came from the land itself, unleavened bread and roasted grain. And the day after they ate of the land, the manna ceased. The Israelites had no more manna, and that year they ate the produce of the land of Israel. So they are gleaning now from the land, harvesting from the land. And that was what God promised. Others will sow, but you will harvest, you will reap. You will enjoy figs and grains and grapes that you did not plant. Right? God is giving it to them, and it's a gift for them, but it's judgment against those peoples of Israel. Many years before, that God had told Abraham, the sin of these people is not yet complete. Right. The second statement was Joshua's interdiction on resettling Jericho, which for millennia had been one of the most attractive locations in the land. No reason is given, but Joshua no doubt saw it as potentially dangerous, especially in the light of Lot's fate after he left Abraham, and the stern warning of Moses about the danger of success for those called to walk in faith in the land between. So this is Joshua's curse. Cursed be the man before the Lord who shall come out here and reconstruct this city Jericho. On the life of his oldest son shall he lay the foundations. So lay the foundations, your oldest son will die. This is Joshua's curse. On the life of his youngest son shall he set up its gates. Finish it, basically. And that's exactly what happens to when Ahab commands Jericho to be rebuilt. The guy who goes and rebuilds it, when he sets the foundations, his oldest son dies. When he finishes it, the youngest son dies. Yeah. We're going to forego the reading and regions on the run, and we're going to mark on our SCA map a little bit more. We're going to highlight city names Joppa on the west coast. So Joppa is in the north. It's out in the Mediterranean Sea. Right, so Joppa is the north of the map there, right on the Mediterranean Sea. And then Gezer, southeast of Joppa. You see, if you follow that to Lod, if you go south of Lod and a little bit to the east of the highway there, you see Gezer. And then we're also going to highlight of Gibeon. Gibeon is in the hill country. So if you go right from Joppa along the path there, you get to, I don't know if do you guys have that one highlighted yet? You guys have a road east-west highlighted there? Do you have Benjamin highlighted in red? So just to the left of the B in Benjamin, you'll see Gibeon. And so highlight Gibeon. All right, so now we're going to highlight that route. So we're going to highlight the route from Medeba. So do you see where Medeba is on the Transjordanian high or the King's Highway there? I think we have a red dot on Medeba. Is that right?
Yes.
So from Medeba, you're going to go northwest. There's 3 north routes. You're going to take the one that's northwest. By now, just to the north of Mount Nebo, it goes through Pisgah. And at Livius Julius Beth Ramatha, you're going to take a left. And you're going to go through the Enon, Wadi Karar, that's there. You're going to go to Qasr, right across the Jordan. And then you're going to go take it all the way to Jericho, the North Jericho that we have highlighted and circled in red.
Anything you're talking about, and then go which way?
North and west, north to Pisgah, to Livius Julius Beth Ramoth. That's where the intersection is. And then from there, you're taking a hard left through Enon, the Wadi Karna, through Qasr, through Beth Araba, to the northern site of Jericho that we have circled and highlighted. And then from Jericho, we're going to cut back just south through Beth Araba to the northern side of Jericho. And then from Jericho, we're going to kind of cut south towards that other south, and there's like one that goes straight south to Jericho, one that goes south and a little bit east. It just goes to the left of that other Jericho dot. You're going to go there and pick up the road that goes to the left. And the next city is you see before you highlight, just make sure you're going towards Michmash, which is 2 or 3 inches to the left. All right. So you're highlighting that road to Michmash. At Michmash, just take it south about a ½ inch to Geba. And then just south of Ramah to Gibeon. Gibeon. Past Geba to Gibeon. Not going all the way south to don't go south to Gibeah. We're going to the east-west route here to Gibeon. From Gibeon, we're going to go through Upper and Lower Beth Horon. You see just to the west and a little bit north. Upper and Lower Beth Horon. Out to the west, and so don't go south at Lower Beth Horon. Keep going to the west. When you get to that next fork, you'll see like Gimzo to the south and Hadid Adia to the north. We're not on that Gizmo road, but that's where the fork is. Take the fork that goes to Lod or Lydda. And from Lod or Lydda, go through Azor to Joppa. And then one last road, it wants us to go from Joppa to Aphek, which Aphek is farther north of the map there. And so you're basically the other one that goes that goes kind of northeast out of Joppa. Take that road to Aphek and to Patras. Our work thus far provides the larger setting for events which will be studied on the Benjamin map. The Joppa, Aphek, Gezer triangle, right? Joppa, Aphek, Gezer triangle here in the northwest of this map. An important part of the route highlighted above is partly seen on the Benjamin map. This important region along the coastal highway was used as a staging area for imperial armies intent on invading the central hill country from the west. Event 19 that we talked about last week shows how King Rehoboam of Judah strengthened defenses along this western approach by adding Ayalon to Solomon's fortifications. And it also shows the routes Pharaoh Shishak's army used in its march from Gezer through the Ayalon Valley to central Bezin Plateau. We talked about all of that last time. However, Pharaoh Shishak, however, was only one of many to make use of the staging area, as we now hear in the words of George Adam Smith, who gives a punctuated historical view of this front door of central Canaan. So find Joppa on your SCA map. Aphek and Gezer, we highlighted that. You see how it kind of makes a triangle? This is the area that the empires used to stage invading armies into when they're marching up into the hill country. We're going to look at our Benjamin map here in a little bit. On the Benjamin map, we don't have Joppa, but we have Aphek and Gezer, kind of this whole western edge. This is that area on the Benjamin map that he's talking about here. So throughout history, we see swarming up this avenue, the Ayalon Valley with Gezer at its mouth, or swept down in flight. At the head of it, invading Israel emerged from the Jordan Valley and looked over the Shephelah towards the sea. Joshua drove the Canaanites down to Makkedah, the Shephelah, on that day when such long work had to be done that he bade the sun stand still for its accomplishment. Remember that account where the sun stood still? This is the area we're talking about. They pursued him out of the highlands down this way so that they could continue to pursue them. Down the Ayalon Valley, the early men of Ephraim and Benjamin raided the Philistines. Up Ayalon, the Philistines swarmed to the heart of Israel's territory at Michmash, disarmed the Israelites, and forced them to come down to the vale to get their tools sharpened. Down Ayalon, Saul and Jonathan beat the Philistines from Michmash. And by the same way, soon after his ascension, King David smote the Philistines who had come up about Jerusalem, either by this route or the gorges leading from the valley of Sorek. From Gibeon until thou come to Gezer, that looks up Ayalon. Ages later, this route found a singular counterpart. In AD 66, a Roman army under Cestius Gallus came up from Antipas on the Azua by the Ayalon. When they entered the gorges of the central range, they suffered from the sudden attacks of the Jews. And although they set Jerusalem on fire and occupied part of it, they suddenly retreated by the way they had come. The Jews pursued, and as far as Antipatris, smote them in thousands, as David had smitten the Philistines. That's from Josephus. It was the time of the Maccabean Wars, and in this time of the Crusades, that this part of the Shephelah was most famously contested. We have already seen that the plain of Ayalon, with its mouth turned slightly northward, lay open to the roads down the maritime plain from Carmel. It was therefore the natural entrance into Judea for the Syrian armies who came south by the coast. The battles roared, for the battles in the Shephelah were always rolling battles between Beth Horon and Gezer, And twice the pursuit of the Syrians extended across the last ridges of the Shvelah to Jamnia and Ashdod. Jonathan swept down, right down to Joppa and won it. One point in the northern Shvelah, around which these tides of war swept, deserves special notice. Gezer or Gezer, it was one of the few remarkable bastions which the Shvelah flings out to the west. The most prominent object in view of the traveler from Jaffa towards Jerusalem. The name occurs in Egyptian correspondence of the 14th century, a city of the Canaanites under the king of its own. Horam, Gezer is not given as one of Joshua's conquests, though the king is. But the Israelites drove not out, right? They spoke differently then. Drave not out the Canaanites who dwelt at Gezer. In the hands of those remained until conquest by Egypt, who Pharaoh gave it with his daughter to Solomon. And Solomon rebuilt it. Judas Maccabeus was strategist enough to gird himself early to the capture of Gezer. And Simon fortified it to cover the way to the harbor of Joppa and caused John, his son, the captain of the host, to dwell there. It was virtually the key of Judea at a time when Judea's foes came down the coast from the north, and with Joppa it formed part of the Syrian demands upon the Jews. But this is by no means the last of it. Shade of King Horam, what hosts of men have fallen around the citadel of yours? On what camps and columns has it looked down through the centuries, since first you saw the strange Hebrews burst with the sunrise across the hills and chase your countrymen down Ailon, that day when the victors felt the very sun conspire with them to achieve the unexemplified length of battle. If all could rise who have fallen around its base, Ethiopians, Hebrews, Assyrians, Arabs, Turkomans, Greeks, Romans, Celts, Saxons, Mongols, and English, what a rehearsal of the judgment day it would be. All right. Kind of see his recount there, and this kind of poetic, but the historic influence that's talking about right here in this land, or on the Benjamin map, just that north part of that that's there. So we are going to move now to the Benjamin map for real. And so we see how zoomed in this is. And we're looking on that map where we were just looking at that stretch right in here. That's the best east-west route within the land between. So, all right. We're not going to explore this map a lot. We've been looking at this area a lot. And so we're going to skip ahead to get some of the marking that's there. So we're going to skip ahead to page 80. All right. We're going to find Jericho again. So we're on the right-hand side here, and we're going to highlight the north of the two Jerichos again, just like we have been.
So the southern is one that the one guy rebuilt, am I thinking?
No, the northern was the one that was rebuilt. The southern one was kind of built later and added on to, and that's more where probably the modern city of Jericho would be.
Okay, all right, I'm sorry.
Nope, that's good.
The southern one is the modern city or the northern one?
More the southern one. They kind of all run into each other at this point. We're not talking, we're looking at this map, we're talking about, less than a mile apart. So you think about, Arnold. So like you're talking about here to,
Yeah.
well, you're talking about here, you're talking about here to Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, there.
I mean, Chick-fil-A is my reference point, so it's all right. All right, so highlight the northern one there. The site name just highlighted, Tel Es Sultan in Arabic, is the ancient site of Jericho. The italicized name here, this is near the Jericho, was a fortress of Threx. Marks the later palatial industrial buildings in the days of the Hasmoneans and Herods. So this is more than New Testament. The southern one is more than New Testament Jericho. Highlight wilderness in Benjamin. So wilderness, in mine it sweeps on the right-hand side here, kind of in this area here. I'm not sure if that's where yours sweeps. Is somebody that has got that? Where does?
Yes, it is.
So it sweeps on that, sweeps there, wilderness. And then Benjamin's kind of just below the middle and to the right of that fold. That's the land of Benjamin.
What did Benjamin do to get land.
So it's actually really good land. It's just because it's a little right, it's just right in the middle of everything.
Okay.
And because it's at the crossroads of everything, everybody else wants it.
Anyway.
All right. Highlight on the route, the main north-south route through the hill country from the northern edge of the map above south along the coast, or along the Black Road past Lebanon, Josh, Bethel, Ellis. So I'll help you with that, okay? So we're starting at the north, so just about an inch or two right of the fold. You'll see to Shechem, Samaria. All right, so start on that road, and you're going south on that road. You don't have just highlight along the road. You see how it curves around? It's a lot like Old Lee May Ferry, or where it's following the ridge route. This is basically like the divide. If rain falls here, if it falls on the right side of that road, it's flowing to the Rift Valley. If rain falls on the left side of that road, it's flowing to the Mediterranean Sea. All right. So you're following that all the way down. So when you get to Bethel, you see how you have a couple intersections before that, but just keep following the road south. When you get to Bethel, there's only one road that there's a road that goes south and to the right, and there's a road that goes more south-southwest. Follow the one that goes to the south-southwest, the one that goes slightly to the left but still down. And keep going then down. You're going to pass, you're going to see some other forks. When you get to Edessa, take the right fork past Mizpah. So the dot of Mizpah is going to be closer to the road you want to take. So Mizpah should be to your left as you're highlighting. You're going to keep going down. So at Edessa, take the right fork, and Mizpah should be to the left of where you highlight. Yep. And then keep following that road south. When you get past Gibeah, you're going to take the road. There's one road that leads more east and one that goes south. Take the one that goes more south. When you get to another crossroads, just keep going south. When you get to where it says Rephaim Valley, you're going to take the fork that goes more towards the right and south, not the one that goes more west. And as you're following it, that towards Bethlehem. When you get to the fork, don't take the one that goes to Bet Jala. Keep going south. When you get to the next one that's just like a half inch away, don't take the one that goes to Bethlehem. Take the one so you're going to veer a little bit there to the west. And so it's going to go almost straight west, and then when it splits again, then take it south and off the map. So it winds around a little bit. That's the Patriarchal Highway. That's the Ridge Route. Those are all names that you'll hear it talked about there. This is the main highway north and south. The easiest part of the land that goes there. All right. All right. Good. Great. So we highlighted all of that. So regional features on the Benjamin map illuminate the story of the Israelite entering the land of Canaan before the fall of Jericho. I'm in the middle of page 80. Discussion on Ben map.
Got it.
Yep. Well, the mountains, so Jericho lies below sea level, 224 meters below sea level is where Jericho lies. Yeah. It's 735 feet below sea level. While the mountains around Bethel rise to about 3,000 feet. So you're looking at a 2,700 feet difference, all right? Over 1,000 meter difference. Okay. All right. The climb from Jericho to the area of Bethel therefore represents an ascent of a great amount. In some 12 miles, you're going up 3,600 feet. So it's a pretty sharp ascent. Joshua told the spies to climb up and scout out the land. They made the ascent to the region of Ai, and upon their return told Joshua, "Don't let all the people make the climb. Don't make all the people toil up there." They knew the difficulties of the ascent. Examine the Joshua-Ai route via Zeboim Valley, noting elevations along the way. So go find Jericho. And then if you go straight to the left or to the west. All right, so you'll have to cut down to that road. We highlighted on the other map, but you see the Zebulun Valley. You'll see Mi'kmash, and I'm not seeing where I is on there.
Just to the southeast of Bethel.
Just to the southeast of Bethel, you'll see Ai, the ruin. That's literally what Ai means. It means the ruin. So we're not sure what this city was before, but they made it ruin.
So we wanna go towards the.
You don't need to highlight right now. We'll highlight in a little bit, but just so you find those things that are there. We'll highlight that in a little bit, but that's the route that they would have taken, and they're going up about 3,000 feet. And the spy said, we can take Ai. We don't need to take everybody with us. All right, and so that's what's there. So now look at the elevations in the hill country along the north-south route you just highlighted. Remember that the higher ground on Benjamin map stands out in a lighter color. Note elevations around Bethel. So what's the elevation around Bethel?
2,780 some feet.
Yeah. So it's about the same. You know, it's a little higher, 2,800 feet. So from like where so it's only from like here to here is about 3,000 feet. From here to here is only about another 700 or 800 feet. So it gradually slows down. It's not rising nearly as much. Elevations are lower on the central Benjamin Plateau, south of Mizpah, and rise slightly by Gibeah as the routes make its way north along the ridge. All right, so we're going to see the canyons, all those things that are there. So we're going to look at the strategic oasis between Jericho and the hill country. So we're going to look at some of those. So we're going to highlight the names of the canyons on the eastern side of the map from north to south. So on the north, we're going to highlight some of these canyons that are here. The first one is the Ajula Canyon. And so, so as you come from the north, you're going to run into the Ajula Canyon. Is the first one. I'm trying to give you some things that are around that. There's Ataroth and there's En Samaya, but there's not a whole lot right around there. This is in the wilderness of Judea. All right. From there, go south and highlight just the McCuck Canyon. That's north of that road we were tracing earlier. The McCuck Canyon. Just south of the fold. Correct. Those folds are nice. They help us find stuff. You're going to highlight the Kelt Canyon. So the Kelt Canyon is a little even farther south, 2 or 3 inches south of the McCuck Canyon. And then we're going to go to the next one is, so we got to go farther to the left to get the Suwanet Canyon. At least on my map, that's listed farther to the left. So if you follow the Kelt Canyon to the east, or to the west, I'm sorry, away from the Jordan River, it kind of splits into 2 canyons, the Suwanet Canyon and the Farah Canyon. Farah. There's our Kelt Canyon.
Canyons, anything like the Grand Canyon?
No, not that magnificent.
Not anything like it.
But they do have steeper sides. They're just not as magnificent. They're not as large. But they are deep canyons. Some of them are deep canyons. And definitely separate the land and give access through the ridges and different things that way. Kidron. Oh, sorry, I did miss the Kidron. The Kidron is the one that goes right by Jerusalem. So if you go all the way down, if you find Jerusalem, remember how to find Jerusalem? You go to the top of the Dead Sea and go west. You see Jerusalem. Just south of the Jerusalem is the Kidron Canyon. So there's the Kidron Valley.
Goes further. The Kidron Canyon has 2
Yep.
views on it.
And I highlighted both of them on mine. The Kidron Valley separates the city of Jerusalem from the Mount of Olives. It runs between the city of Jerusalem and the Mount of Olives. So when Jesus was in the Mount of Olives with his disciples, when they left Jerusalem, they'd have walked out of the city, walked down the Kidron Valley, and up into the Garden of Gethsemane on the Mount of Olives. When the soldiers came, the temple guard came to arrest him. They'd have gone the same way, and they'd have marched Jesus back the same way through the Kidron Valley. It runs between the two.
Kidron Valley is long.
Yep. All right. Where are we at? Okay. The optional, we're not going to trace the stream beds there. You can if you want to. So we're going to skip up to number 6. We're going to highlight on these routes. From Byzantium Jericho, that's the southern Jericho, we're going to highlight west of there. From Jericho.
Byzantine Jericho.
Oh, wait, that might be is that the northern one? All right. Oh, sorry. From Byzantium Jericho. Got it. All right. We're gonna go northwest past the non-italicized Jericho and Naran. So northwest. So from Byzantine Jericho, go to the Jericho that we have highlighted. And then keep following that same direction towards Naran. And then you're going to follow that road. And when you get to the fork, about 6 inches away, you're going to take the northern fork towards Ophrah. And then you're going to go to the west to rejoin our road that we highlighted already. Okay? From Byzantium Jericho, we're going to go back to there. We're going to highlight west through the italicized Jericho.
Palaces.
Yep, palaces. And we're going to continue. It's going to go north and then go west from there. So just the road that goes west in the Zeboim, and we're going to go next to the Zeboim Valley. And we're going to, when we get to the fork, it wants us to Deir, Dibwan, Ai, and Bethel. So when we get to the fork, take the northern fork that leads you to Deir, D-E-I-R, Dibwan, and then from there past Ai, and then to Bethel, join our north-south ridge route there. All right. Letter C. Find the lookout along the route you just highlighted. We see that?
Yes. The lookout. You've probably written over it.
If you see Zebulun Valley, just go to the left to it.
There it is.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay,
So basically where the fork split before and we highlighted north, now we're just going to highlight west. And we're going to go west toward Michmash.
There's so much in there.
Yep. And then we're going to go south towards and through Geba, past Ramah to the
Doing another one?
Yes.
so where are we split off from the Zeboim Valley and went north towards Deir. We're going to go
Doing anything at the lookout?
so at the lookout.
Starting.
So that we have a highlight on that road north of the lookout.
Yes.
And when we come to the fork, instead of highlighting the north road we already have, go to the west towards Michmash, highlight to the Michmash. And then south to Geba, Ramah, to our road there, our north-south road there. And then from D, letter D on page 81, from italicized Jericho, highlight southwest.
So Jericho from
So Jericho, yep, from Jericho Palaces. So we're gonna go southwest, Tulu, Abu, the Cyphros. We're highlighting that road through the Kelt Canyon, by the Kelt Canyon. We're highlighting that road when we get to the fork. We're gonna highlight we're going to highlight both routes. So at the fork there, you're going to highlight the route that goes through Anatoth to the Central Ridge route, and you're going to highlight the southern route that goes by Bahurim to the Central Ridge route. So you're gonna highlight both of those routes. So if you look at what you've just highlighted, and look at the rest of the map there really are only 3 good routes coming from the east to get to that ridge route. And where do all of them start? Jericho. And so that's the idea of why Jericho, this place, was of such strategic importance. Okay? And then from Byzantium, Jericho, highlight east past Beth Araba off the map. So from Jericho, just you're going to go to the east from Byzantium, Jericho, just to the east off the map. And then highlight on city names Ai and Bethel. So Bethel's right on the ridge route. Ai is just to the east on that road. Ai, the ruin. So there's deep canyons here. There's these canyon systems that you go through. This is where the ridges come from. You notice how they're coming up through these canyons because they're the straightest or flattest or easiest way to go as the waters carved them out over the centuries. All right. So that's where Joshua brings the people up in there. And if you remember in Joshua, they attempt to go up to Ai, and because of Achan's sin, Achan had stolen things from the city of Jericho and hid it in his tent. The people they sent up to Jericho or to Ai, the spies said, don't worry about sending everybody up here. You can just send a small force. And because they knew God was fighting for them, except they didn't know Achan's sin. And so Achan's sin had hurt all of them. And God wasn't with them in that battle, and they were routed and defeated, and some of them died. Achan's family is killed for his disobedience of God and for causing other people in the community to be killed. And so they go back that way. So that's going through on 81 on those things as well. And so Joshua then sends more people after they do that to go after them. And they rout them, they defeat them. But this area, it was important to the land of controlling the land that God had given them. So they got the east covered. This is therefore they need to get to the ridge route and control cities along the ridge route. So they get Ai defeated eventually. All right, so we're going to highlight on 83, we're going to highlight Central Benjamin Plateau. On my map, that's just north of like where Benjamin that we highlighted is, and it kind of west here. You'll see it's kind of in white right in the middle of the seam. There's more white in that area. It's just, everybody find that on there? Is that where it is on yours too?
Yep.
Yeah. So just kind of north of Gibeon there. 83, number 8. So they got to Ai, they've defeated Ai, and so they're controlling Benjamin. Highlight on the city name of Gilgal near Jericho. So if you go to the northern Jericho, just go about an inch to the north and a little bit east, highlight Gilgal. And put a solid green box around the city dot. Put a solid green box around the city dot of Gilgal. Highlight that, put a solid green, or in a square box around that, around the dot. That was the camp of Israel. That was there where they camped out. That was their staging point to get up into this land. That's their staging point to take care of Jericho. And then from there, they went up into the hill country as well. All right. Highlight on the city named Gilgal near Shiloh. Top center of that. So there's a couple. Gilgal kind of means circle of stones. So there's a couple of things named Gilgal. So Gilgal. So that north-south route that we highlighted, you'll see on there there's a Geba with a question mark. If you go to the left, not on a road, you'll see Gilgal, Gilgia or something like that, right?
Yeah.
It's near Shiloh. So just to the right of the seam. So Gilgal is there. That was the Israelites, made camp there as well. Right in small black caps beside the green box of Gilgal, not the one we just highlighted, but the first one over by Jericho, right? Joshua's camp. And then number 12, put an orange dot on the Gibeonite cities on and around the central Benjamin Plateau. So we're going to put an orange dot around the Gibeonite cities. So if you remember the Gibeonite deception, they came and pretended like all their stuff was really old, and they made a treaty even though Joshua wasn't supposed to make a treaty with anyone. So the Gibeonite cities are Gibeon, so just near the central Benjamin Plateau. Put an orange dot on the city dot of Gibeon. Sephirah. So if you go to the left of Gibeon towards the west, so Sephiron, and then Kiriath Jearim, Baaloth. Yeah, that's right in that same area, just south of Sephiroth, or however you say that name. All right, and then Beeroth, right below Gibeon, just about an inch south of Gibeon. Right. Although another very plausible view places Beeroth north of Mizpah, just southwest of Bethel, we're not worried about that. And then highlight with your yellow Jerusalem. So if you're going south of Benjamin on the ridge route, you're going to see Jerusalem just south of that last east-west, that road that goes to the east towards Jericho. Yeah, Dead Sea over.
That one I have.
So Gilgal means circle of stones. That's why there's many names of that. First appears the Joshua. They camped in both places. And so there's reading there. And so I just want to jump ahead to some of the other highlights really quick to finish that. So it's so they're spreading out, they're taking over. We've got that. When they make a treaty with Gibeon and its cities, the other kings in the area, the other cities said, hey, we don't like that. And so they come to war against Gibeon, and Gibeon calls its ally, hey, we signed that NATO agreement. You have to come help us, right? So Joshua and the Israelites, they come and help them. And so I want to highlight some of these things. And that way we get most of these things marked on our map here. So we're going to highlight the coastal plain. It's on the left side.
Where are we now?
We're on page 84,
Okay.
number 14. I'm jumping through some of the discussions and readings, just make sure we get this highlighted. Coastal plain. All right. And then you're going to go Shpela or lowland, right, just a little bit to the right. Mine's sweeping from north to south there. The Ayalon Valley. So if that's kind of just below the seam, in the Shpela area is the Ayalon Valley.
Yes, thank you.
All right. And then you're going to go south of there, and you're going to see the Sorek Valley. The Sorek Valley is a little farther to the west. Sorek Valley. This is the Sorek Valley is where the stories of Samson took place. And then you go farther south, almost to off the bottom of the map, but in this kind of line with Sorek Valley, north and south, you're going to see the Elah Valley. That was where David and Goliath fought. Okay. So highlight on the names, Chesalon Canyon. So if you go back to the Island Valley and go almost south, straight south of there, about 3 or 4 inches, you'll see the Chesalon Canyon there. And then if you're going more east and a little bit south, you'll see the Sorek Canyon. And then a little bit more east and south, you'll see the Rephaim Canyon there as well. Sorek Valley, we're looking for the Sorek Canyon. We're not going to trace the canyons to show you where they all go, but I want to go back and highlight on the route. So number 17, the main branch of the coastal highway via Ono and Aphek and north off the map to Galilee. So So the main branch, so if you go to the top of the map, you'll see where it says to Galilee. Highlight down to Aphek, and then take, when you get there, take the left, not off the map to Joppa, but where it splits there, go south to Jehud, El Yehudiah, Ono, and then off the map on the side. And then we're also going to highlight the inland branch of the coastal highway. So go back to Aphek, and this time we're going to take the one that goes, we're going to cut a little bit to the left, to the west, and then go south down to Lod. Lod or Lydda. And then from there you're going to go down to Gibbethon. And then from there, when it splits again, you're going to go past Ekron, and then Gath, and then off the map, the one that leads into the corner.
How do you get to Akron?
From Gibbethon,
Oh, I see.
Yep.
I see.
and then when you get to Gath, take the one that goes basically the route that leads you into the corner. All right, begin at the crossroads just west of Ramah. Where's Ramah? I'm like drawing a blank on it myself.
You know what, that took me forever to find.
It's just above Benjamin, right?
Thank you. Yes, there it is. I've got
There it
it so
is.
highlighted I can't see it.
I know.
So right in the central Benjamin Plateau, that's where I was looking, but I was looking right past it. So the route that goes from Ramah, you're going west from there, and you're going to go towards west across the central Benjamin Plateau, and then you're going to go northwest to Upper Beth Horon and Lower Beth Horon.
Okay.
And then off to Lod or Lydda from there, and then off the map to Joppa.
The northern route along here, correct?
Yep. And then
What was the next one after Lower Beth?
Lower Beth Horon, you're taking the northern route there to Lod. And then to Joppa and off the map. Then go back to Lower Beth Horon. And we're going to take, and we're going to go highlight the shortest route to Gezer. So that's the one that goes, the one that goes mostly west, but then goes south. North of the Island, on the northern side of the Island Valley, by Gezer, northern side of the Island Valley, and then to Gezer and off the map north of Gibeon. And then we're going to go back to Lower Beth Horon. We're highlighting most of these roads by Lower Beth Horon. You can see how that was a strategic point coming the other way, can't you? From Lower Beth Horon, you're going to highlight past Kephar, Itayim, south towards Ayalon, basically. So the southern part of the Island Valley to Ayalon. And then from Ayalon, we're going to Eshcol, which is south. So from Ayalon, you're going south to Eshcol. And then from Eshcol, you're going south and a little bit west to Beth Shemesh. And then south off the map, passing just east of Azekah. And following the route to the south edge of the map.
Okay. You go off again?
Yep.
There's
And
about four,
off
but it doesn't
south.
matter.
Yeah, south there. Just
Okay.
south and off. And then you're going to retrace that back till you get to Eshcol. And this time, instead of going south and west towards Beth Shemesh, you're going to go just basically straight south past Zenoath and off the map.
So basically, anything that looks like a road you highlight.
Most of them. Most of them. And then we're going to go back to Gibeon. Gibeon's in the central Benjamin Plateau. So we got Ramah there, we got Gibeon. We're going to highlight southwest now, past Gibeon, And we're going towards Bidu and Kiriath Jearim Baalath. And then we're gonna bend back to the north or to the west, northwest, to Ayalon. And then on to the intersection north of Emmaus. You guys have heard of that place, right? To join the road already highlighted there. Okay. So when they're going from so basically
Emmaus, where do you go?
from so just join one of the roads that you've already highlighted there.
There's nothing that's right at Emmaus.
Not at Emmaus. Go north of Emmaus. Yeah. And you can just
So
join.
take that road from Emmaus straight
Yeah,
north.
that's fine. Yep.
Okay.
So kind of the highlight there. So when they're looking at the road from Jerusalem to Jericho, they probably took at least from Kiriath Baalath there. That's how they got there, the disciples. All right, and then begin at Lod. So Lod is on the coastal plain, and then you go southeast to Rabbah to join with that road you just highlighted east towards Kiriath Jearim. Rabbah, and then keep going east to join the road you highlighted earlier to Kiriath Jearim. So again, you can see by the roads you've highlighted, from the ridge route, there really is only one good route out of there that then splits into like 15 different branches, right? But you have to, all of them lead you through the Central Benjamin Plateau. So from a strategic standpoint, you can see both from the east and the west and the north and the south, how important this area is to the land of Israel. That's where we're going to stop today. You can highlight it and go through some of the other stories with this if you want to, about how both Jonathan and Saul traced this route, as well as Joshua. They chased these invaders through that same route, just about 300-400 years apart from each other. They did the same, history repeated itself. All right. Great job, everybody.
My head is spinning, but other than that,
Head is spinning, that's good.
okay. Glad to hear you like that. Oh, I wore a hat. Keep your brains in.
What page were we on? I'm sorry. I lost my page. That was we finished number 17 on page 85. Yeah. All right.
I went to see Sights and Sounds, the Samson thing, and all of those, a lot of these Philistines